Hello, hello, and welcome to the channel. This is something that I know a lot of people go through with uh, with diesel engines that have a Detroit diesel from anywhere from a 1990 all the way up to the current 2014, 15. The Series 60, what they're called, 12.7 and the 14 liter. The one thing that I was experiencing out of my engine is that at one point I was sitting and letting the truck idle, and I got up that morning and I found a nice size put of oil underneath my truck, and it wasn't from the rear main seal, it wasn't from the oil pan, wasn't from the bell housing, wasn't from the blow by tube, but what it was for was from the turbo. It was from the turbo outlet, which what you would know as the exhaust. And it, I don't know how much it had leaked, but I was about a gallon of oil low. So upon once I turned the truck off and checked the oil and everything, found it was a gallon low, filled the truck up to the proper level, started up, let it run, and brought the idle up on it. When I brought the idle up on it, it smoked a little bit because it had oil and the oil had ran down into the exhaust pipe into the muffler and all that, so it had to burn it out. But it did that, and so I noticed that every time I would let it, it got to a point where I would let it sit and idle over 30 minutes or an hour, it would start to sweat or what they call slobber, which means it would have a trace of oil in the exhaust port of the turbo, which is the part that which is where the turbo is driven from. It's driven. The exhaust is driven into the middle part of the turbo, and then it turns the it turns the compressor wheel, which in turn sends pressure or air into the intake manifold. And so I thought, hey, man, I've never had this happen to me before on my truck. So I started to check into it and stuff like that. And I went ahead on and bought another turbo because when I checked my turbo, it was kind of loose and everything. And I historically and from experience that my turbo did leak oil. It did leak it did leak oil before I put this last one on there, which was about 5 years ago. So not wanting to go through the idea of having another turbo failure and having to put new air coolers on it, I just did the preventive maintenance part and replaced the turbo. I'm going to tell you this: if you have a Freightliner, a Western Star, or any truck that has a Detroit diesel engine, don't let the truck, if it idles at 600 RPM, when you're sitting somewhere, if you're going to sit overnight to prevent this from happening, idle the truck up at least 700 or 750 RPM. That way, the engine's moving faster than idle, and the oil won't pool on top of the pistons and sit there and then push it through the exhaust manifold, which will in turn push it into the turbo. Now, it may seem like that there's no truth in that, but it is. Over a period of time of letting your engine just sit there and idle like that, it will cause you to have a buildup of oil in the turbo where the seals are at. And so what will end up happening is you'll have so much there to flood it, and because it's running slow, it's not able to push the oil. It's not able to push the oil uh, with enough pressure in order to to make the oil just go in the turbo and go to the drain. Go in the turbo, go to the drain. It'll be idling so slow that some of the oil over a period of time will start to sit there. And what that would do is when you see the wetness of oil on the outlet of your turbo, which usually will be either in the center of the turbo or you see it on the outlet side of the turbo where the exhaust pipe hooks in. That's letting you know that those seals are going bad because what has happened is you let it sit there and idle so long. And so what you would tend to do is to check the level on it and drive it. As long as you're driving it, it won't leak anything. As long as it's over idle, it won't leak anything. So to prevent this from happening, when you're idling your truck overnight, if it idles at 500 RPM, do yourself a favor, bring it up to 700, 750, and let it idle there because it will be above idle, and that's fast enough for the turbo to everything to move over idle, and it'll be able to circulate the oil, and nothing will pool anywhere. It won't stay anywhere. So just wanted to give you all that because that's what I experienced in my truck here, and let me show you because it was doing the same thing, and I was doing it at 600 RPM. So since I replaced the new turbo, I talked to several other guys that I know that work on diesel trucks, and they all said the same thing. Even though your turbo is not leaking right now because you got a brand new one, in the future to prevent that from happening to you again, always overnight, bring the if you're gonna let the engines, the truck sit and run, bring it up to 700 or 800 RPM. I'm doing 750. Let it run there, and you won't have to worry about having those problems later on because it won't just sit there and it won't let the oil get on top of the pistons, all that kind of stuff, or anything like that. You won't have to worry about that. So just want to let you all know. And also, I never had used Lucas in any of my vehicles, but I was having a problem with my oil breaking down. It was the viscosity that was going down, and it just wasn't holding up. And I just had an oil change on it, and I only got a little over 700,000 miles on this truck. It never consumed any oil before, but I did have some leaks with the rear main seal and stuff like that, and I had all those. I had the rear main seal replaced, the bell housing took off, gasketed on it, and the oil pan, all that. So the only problem I was having was this oil breaking down. So I went and started doing some research because I never used Lucas before, and they got things like motor coat and stuff like that that people recommend. But Lucas, I know it's been around for a long time, and one of the benefits that it said that it helped with oil pressure, it helped with oil pressure, and it also helped oil pressure, and it also helped with with the oil stabilization and leaks. So I tried it today. I tried today. Earlier today, I was about 100 miles from my home. I was filling up. I bought a gallon of Lucas. I put a quart a quart of it in there, which I left 3 quarts in the jug, and I put a quart in there, and then that brought my level up to full. I drove another right at 600 miles today, checked it, and it was low. It was low, probably about 2 quarts. So what I did was put the rest of the Lucas in there. Rest Lucas in there, which was 3 quarts, 3 quarts. That filled the oil level back up, and I've crunked the truck up, and I'm starting the test, which will be letting it run at 750 RPMs every time I'm idling the truck. And I'm gonna see what that does. When I check the oil, it usually was kind of watery, but when I checked it today, when I stopped after driving that 500 miles, the viscosity of the oil was really good. It didn't just run off the stick and all that, and I didn't. And my consumption was starting to go the other way. So just saying that I knew that because of what I had done with letting the truck just lug at idle at 550 or 600 RPM, that was causing me the problem. So that's what I'm testing now by putting loops in it and letting it run at 750 RPM, so it won't be lugging. And I'm gonna see what that does because even in the manual for Detroit says don't if you're gonna idle them overnight, don't let them just sit there at the low RPM. They want you to bring them up, and so that's what I've been doing. Hey, was it worth it? Seems like probably it's gonna be. I'll let you all know. No more problem about the turbo though, because I put a new turbo on there and the turbo's doing quite well. So I will let you all know just how it comes out tomorrow with the oil consumption, with doing the putting the Lucas in it and raising the idle up from just sitting there lugging to 750 RPM and following what the manufacturer's recommendation was that if you're going to idle one overnight, don't let it idle, bump the RPM up on it. And so that's what I've done. If you haven't done so, please subscribe, like, share, comment. In this channel, I'm not just talking about my personal vehicles. I'm talking about my equipment. I'm doing things with my motorcycle and stuff like that. And so as time go on, I will go into other things and show you all other things because the first thing I always do is I use my situation as the topic, and then I show you all what I do and the research I've done and use it and see what does it get us. And what doesn't work for one person necessarily may work for somebody else. But I know just on today, just looking at the oil when I checked the dipstick, the viscosity of the oil and everything was better than what it had been being, and the consumption was down. And all I did was just put like a quarter Lucas in there. So I put the rest of the gallon in and made sure it was topped off. And I'm gonna let it run overnight at the 750 RPMs. When I stop and get fuel tomorrow, I will check it and then I will give you all an update on that. When I get back home, we will be doing a road test on the C10 because the transmission is in. It's functioning so far. All I need to put the 12-volt power source to it, and that'll be it. As always, if someone else did it, we can do it. It's nothing hard. Just get your documentation, everything in order, do your research. Have a great day. And the message of the day is we can always get it done. Talk to you on the next one. Thank you.